everyone, and welcome to our first virtual MAP-edu community meeting. To start off with some introductions, I'm Alexandra Akopian, and here's our images. The Neighborhood Services Program Coordinator at the City of Monrovia, and also here with us is our MAP staff members, Lauren Davis-Meyer, whom is our Neighborhood Services Administrative Assistant, and she's here, so she's saying hi. And Sheila Spicer-Batiste, our Neighborhood and Business Services Division Manager. Sheila's here as well, she's saying hi too. Also, I'd like to point out some of our Monrovia City Council in virtual attendance today. We have Mayor Tom Adams, Council Member Becky Shevlin, Council Member Larry Spicer, and Council Member Gloria Cuttington. Now I'm going to go ahead and assume that some of you here today do not know what the Monrovia Area Partnership is, and the important role that it plays in the community, especially during times like this. MAP is an excellent way to get involved and to get your voice heard in the community. To give you a quick background and history of the Monrovia Area Partnership, also known as MAP for short, the program was formed back in 2006, which was 14 years ago, when Monrovia was experiencing a big increase in crime and blighted conditions in some neighborhoods in the city. After completing door-to-door surveys in those impacted neighborhoods, we learned that many residents were apathetic, didn't trust local government, and weren't aware of how powerful their opinions and voices are in influencing the decision-making processes of the city. The MAP program that included a partnership between the city, local community members, nonprofit organizations, and others was focused on combating crime and blight and placed an emphasis on increasing resident activism. We started off with weekend block parties, brought in a literacy van into the neighborhoods, provided home improvement grants, hosted workshops, conferences, and leadership academies that provided education, resources, and opportunities to make those residents' voices heard and part of positive change. Presently, the MAP program continues to build community and leaders and has many functions, including neighborhood cleanups, volunteer opportunities, the Neighborhood Treasures program, which is honoring our unsung heroes, block parties, a newsletter, community workshops, an annual conference, and our leadership academies for both youth and adults. All of this programming is offered at no charge and is open to the entire community. These efforts have proven to empower residents. Many of our Academy graduates are leading various efforts in their neighborhoods, serving on various boards and commissions, and even on the city council. MAP is an excellent tool for any resident who wants to get involved. But one of MAP's strengths is the partnership with others in the community. MAP often collaborates with our community partners, such as all of our various city departments, the emergency response team, our churches, the Foothill Unity Center, the San Gabriel Valley Volunteer Center, mental and physical health advocate groups, etc., to address the ever-changing needs in the community. We'd love to partner with you, and if you are interested in being a part of MAP, please feel free to reach out to myself and the MAP team on how to get involved. You can email us at map@ci.monrovia.ca.us. Now, I would like to point out our special guests today. Please welcome our Monrovia Police Chief, Alan San Victorious, along with some guest police officers. And lastly, our Monrovia City Manager, Dylan Feik. But before we go ahead, we're going to be doing our invocation, which Chaplain Brown is going to be doing. So please say hello to Chaplain Brown.
Good morning, and thank you, Alex. Good morning, Monrovians. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today, as always, in the spirit of praise and thanksgiving, ever grateful, ever hopeful that our best days are truly ahead of us. And even in the midst of adversity, that the winds of systemic change is picking up steam, blowing throughout our nation, sending ablaze passionate displays of unity, giving birth to new community activists, leaders, and organizers. New partnerships are being forged, community alliances created, and once fragile relationships are being renewed and strengthened. So on today, I am encouraged and inspired that programs such as the Monrovia Area Partnership and its mission of community empowerment will be fully utilized as one of our local networking tools to help expand, build, and promote the positive change that's sweeping across our nation. In your glorious name we pray, amen.
Hello, Monrovians. How are you this morning? First of all, I'd like to welcome you to this MAP-edu event. This is extremely important. This is where we continue as Monrovians to build our relationships together so we get to know each other. And the reason for that is the more we know the more we know of each other, and we know who each other are, from your city government, your police department, our community members, the better we will all have greater understanding and our ability to thrive in our beautiful city. Typically, obviously this is different. This is through a Zoom platform due to COVID, but typically when we have these events, our MAP-edu and our MAP conferences, on anything that's being presented by the police department, what we've always done is we like to bring up several members of our staff, your police department, and get to introduce ourselves and give a little bit of background so you know who we are as your police department. So what I'll do is I'll start off with myself, and then I'll pass it on to one of my division captains, and then one of our lieutenants, our community activist policing officer, and also who you just saw, our police chaplain, Terrence Brown. So starting off with me, my name is Alan San Victoris. I am currently your police chief for your Monrovia Police Department. I have served the city of Monrovia for the past 25 years. I've spent my entire career here, starting off as a Monrovia police officer back in '95, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's a very fulfilling job, and it is something I will continue to do as long as I possibly can to be able to serve you here in the city. I am originally from Newark, New Jersey. I am the first generation of immigrant parents. My parents immigrated here to the United States at separate times. My father joined the United States Coast Guard, the United States military, in the Philippines back in the 60s to find out a way to serve the United States and get here to America so he can continue his dream. My mother wanted to do the same, and she was a nurse, and that's how she came over here, and they met on the East Coast, and here I am today. When I came over here to the West Coast, when we were transferred while we were all still in the military, I attended high school locally here in the San Gabriel Valley. I've joined the United States Army initially as an enlisted person. And then as time went along, I ended up going to Cal Poly Pomona, where I received a bachelor's degree in business administration, and at the same time achieved an officer's commission through Army ROTC. And I continued to serve in the United States Army as an Army officer for a number of years before getting out. I also served in the reserves, finishing out my commitment. And while I was a reserve Army officer, I became a police officer here in Monrovia. I am married. I have two beautiful daughters, and we live here in Southern California, obviously. And every day has been a blessing for me to be able to continue to work here and serve the Monrovian community. And with that said, I will bring up our division captain, Roberto Wilkin. Excuse me.
Good morning, Monrovians. My name's Rob Wilkin. I'm the Administrative Services Captain for the City of Monrovia Police Department. I'm in my 27th year with the department, starting off in 1993 as a reserve officer and getting hired on full-time in 1994. I've worked my way up to the position of captain, where I serve Chief San Victoris. I basically oversee 6 different bureaus in the department, approximately 55 employees. My parents immigrated from Argentina, and we came here in 1960, and I was born right down the street from the police department at the Monrovia Community Hospital. So I have a real nexus to this city. Having worked in so many different divisions in the department, I understand the needs and the wants of the community. So I appreciate working here. And with that, I'll bring up Lieutenant Verna.
Hi, everyone watching. My name is Daniel Verna, and I am a Monrovian, not just a Monrovia police officer, but my family moved here to Monrovia in 1962. My grandparents moved from La Cañada. My parents bought a house in Monrovia 2 doors down from my grandparents. And so I was raised here in Monrovia my whole life. I attended Broad Oak School. I attended Clifton, graduated from Monrovia High School, and recently received my master's from USC Law School. I'm a Coast Guard auxiliarist, but my experience with the Monrovia Police Department started in 1991. Just after I graduated from Monrovia High School, I became a police cadet, a part-time employee getting $4.25 an hour while I attended Citrus College. I worked my way up in pretty much every aspect the police department could offer, including parking control, dispatch, police officer, sergeant. I worked in community policing most recently. Some of you may have seen me at our previous MAP meetings. But all these experiences really don't compare to the most impactful thing that has happened to me at the Monrovia Police Department, and that is the volunteerism that our officers give to the community. I think we're probably one of the most community-oriented police department in all of Southern California, which started in Monrovia back in the early 90s under the leadership of Joe Santoro. We frequently, every year, volunteer with the Foothill Unity Center, giving food and clothes to needy families with the Foothill Unity Center. And we've been doing that at least since 1991, possibly even before that. But we don't get paid to do this. And I don't know of any other police department that reaches out to the community in this way. We don't even ask for recognition for it. But every year we give food to the needy families in Monrovia to make sure that they don't become homeless, so that they can pay their rent. But these types of experiences really have impacted me more than anything else while working at Monrovia. And with that, I want to pass this on to Ian, who is currently working in our community policing office.
Great. Good morning. If you guys have attended a MAP meeting before, then you probably know me. I have been the community policing officer for the last 1.5 years, along with my partner, Kevin. So a lot of you guys know us. If you ever see us out, go ahead and say hi. We, besides attending all these MAP events, we work very close with our homeless population, and we also work very close with our neighborhood watch organizations. So if you're ever interested in becoming a neighborhood watch leader and inviting us into your home, we would love to come and talk with you guys about some of the issues that you might have at a local level. A little bit about myself. I have kind of a different background. My parents were missionaries, and I grew up in East Africa. So I lived in East Africa until I was about 15 years old, and then came to California. I went to college at Biola University for a cultural anthropology degree, and then I got my master's at Claremont Graduate University in public policy and economics. After that, I worked for the U.S. Department of State for about 2 years. I realized that I didn't want to travel as much as they had wanted me to travel, and I did a little bit of a stint in small business with a couple of restaurants before kind of landing in Monrovia. So I was living in Monrovia, and I got to know a little bit about the Monrovia Police Department, and I didn't just want to be a police officer. I wanted to be a Monrovia police officer, and I didn't apply anywhere else. This was the only place that kind of grabbed my heart, and a lot of that was because I saw what they were doing with community policing, and it really drew me in. It's amazing how cutting edge they've been in this aspect of community policing, and it's a different way to do it. And we are very proud of what we do here at the Monrovia Police Department. And I think that if you get to know us as the community, you can see that, and you are proud of us too. As long as we continue to have this community and this dialogue. And I really want to be a part of the dialogue, and everyone here at the Monrovia Police Department wants to be a part of that dialogue as well. And so I'm excited. As Chaplain Brown said, we're moving forward. Our best days are yet ahead, and I am so excited to be a part of this for the foreseeable future. And I think we're back to Chaplain Brown.
Outstanding. Thanks, Ian. Hey, good morning again. I am Chaplain Brown, Terrence Brown. I've been serving as a police chaplain with Monrovia Police Department for 8 years. However, I live in this community, living here for the last 23 years. I married a native Monrovian, the beautiful Elena Ross, for 23 years. She grew up in Monrovia, went to the school systems, a graduate of Monrovia High School. I have 2 beautiful daughters. Victoria Alana Brown. She's also a graduate of Monrovia High School. And my youngest daughter, Jordan A. Brown, she is currently going to be a senior at Monrovia High School. As a whole, I've been serving this community for 23 years as a youth pastor and as a pastor. I recently opened a church entitled Impact Community Christian Center, but my passion, of course, is community outreach. My passion is serving as a police chaplain, where I can work with these officers side by side with community outreach. And later on during this broadcast, we're going to hear about one of my passion projects, the reason why I was motivated, inspired to sign up, which is our CARRY program and our NCAM program, but that's going to come down later on throughout the line. But I love serving here. This is a blessed city to live, serve, and to raise a family. So God bless you and thank you.
All right, I just wanted to update you guys real quick and let you know that we will be having questions and answers, so you can submit those in the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. And sorry about that. And so feel free to submit those questions, but they will be answered upon the completion of Chief Sam Victorious's updates. Thank you.
Hello again. Hi. Thank you very much for your time and allowing myself and the rest of our staff here of your police department introduce ourselves and give you a little insight on exactly who we are. I just wanted to go into, if I could take a moment of your time, go into giving an overview of the Monrovia Police Department for those that are not aware. So you hear this word being used a lot, community activist policing. Community policing, community activist policing. So with that being said, the Monrovia Police Department over the last 29 years began a community activist policing philosophy under then Chief Joe Santoro. And that is something that has continued and grown ever since that time. When I talk about community activist policing, it's not a tactic, it's not a program per se. It's more of a philosophy that this department has been basing everything off of over that last 29 years. So all Monrovia police officers, when they join the department, whether it's police officers, whether it's non-sworn personnel like our records clerks, parking control, dispatchers, whatever, the goal here is to ensure that we are members of the community. We're not outsiders just working here in Monrovia. We are Monrovians. We spend more time here at work in Monrovia than we do in our own homes. It's community policing is a frame of mind. Like I said, we have a community activist policing bureau that you saw Officer Ian Vandenberg is currently assigned to, and that the reason for the Community Activist Policing Bureau is to try and look at long-term solutions to different problems, whatever they might be, quality of life issues, so forth. Whatever the needs of the community are, that's what the focus will be on. Now, as a result of us operating under our Community Activist Policing model, over the years, when there was a lot of blight issues, there was a lot of violence issues back in the 90s and the early and mid 2000s, because we've had that kind of partnership, and I'm not just saying it's all because of Monrovia PD. Well, what I'm saying is it's the collaboration of Monrovia PD and all of us community members that resulted in seeing over 29 years a 90% reduction in violent crime. We have a very beautiful city now because of this constant collaboration. Some of the historical community partnerships that your department takes forward under this policing model is we have, like you've heard it said, our neighborhood watch meetings. We constantly have community charity partnerships, like you heard Lieutenant Verna say, on food distributions and cancer research fundraising. We've also partnered with the community to conduct classes throughout the school district and several businesses on those really hard issues that we're seeing in our society, like how to protect ourselves from violence or danger, such as an active shooter, things of that nature. We constantly collaborate, like we are doing today with the Monrovia Area Partnership, which it's citywide of all departments getting together to create that relationship amongst everybody with your local government and what can we do for you. We constantly take part in Monrovia Area Partnership block parties, which, yes, things have been put on hold due to COVID, and we will get past it one day, and we will again resume that area. But I think that what I really also wanted to put out about your police department is, people have asked, how are we reaching out to the community? How are we going to deal with those difficult questions? How are we going to answer those difficult questions, and how we're going to move forward for those issues that we're seeing today? So I want everybody to understand the Monrovia Police Department back in 2014, we started seeing that erosion between the community and their local police departments across the United States. We saw that distrust of people living in the community of anybody wearing a badge. So at Monrovia, we wanted to take it one step further. So in 2014, we began our Achieving Community Trust program. In this program, we didn't want to just meet with the public and have, coffee with a cop, those types of things, which are great, but let's face it, coffee with a cop, who shows up to that? People who like the cops. We wanted to take it to that next level and reach out to the community that did not trust Monrovia PD, that did not trust their local law enforcement here in our community. So back then, at the time I was a captain, myself and the other staff and the chief of police back then, Chief Jim Hunt, we reached out to community members, and we reached out through the faith-based community, local community leaders, local activists, people to reach out to find those people who absolutely did not like the police, did not trust the police, and figure out a way where we could all sit around a table and find out why, and most importantly, how do we move forward from there? So back in those days, through a number of months and numerous meetings, we were able to come up with 3 basic tenets of what the public was asking for. So we saw, and what did they ask for? Tenet number 1, they want further communication with people who did not trust the police. Let's talk, let's get to know each other. They want to know who their police officers are here in Monrovia. We want to know who our community members are that we continue to serve, and what are their needs. The second tenet that came up in those meetings that was brought up by the community members is like, let's talk to our young people. Let's create that relationship with our young people, in the schools, and figure out, okay, how can we talk so everybody knows how to interact with each other, when we meet each other on the street. And then thirdly, the third tenet of that was de-escalation. We all know words can create such great harmony. And then words, if used improperly, can create an incredible amount of distrust and the worst case scenario. So with those 3 tenets, our Achieving Community Trust program was built. In terms of de-escalation, the Monrovia Police Department, back in 2015 and 2014, we reached out and developed verbal de-escalation programs where we partnered with the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. And once we had a solid program, We even started teaching classes here at the Monrovia Library, not just for all Monrovia police officers, but we also taught other officers verbal de-escalation tactics and procedures and methods through all over the Los Angeles County area. We also partnered with a software gaming company, where Monrovia PD worked with this software gaming company, and we created a computer software program simulator where we regularly, even to this day, we put our officers through on how to verbally de-escalate any possible situations, how to get over those areas of where there might be misunderstanding. And we do this regularly. Our instructors, I've got over 8 instructors here that are state certified on verbal de-escalation programs. So we conduct regular in-house training for us here, because what we noticed back in those days is like there really wasn't that type of resource out there in the academy. You know, in the basic academy at that time, there wasn't, you know, a true focus on that. Well, like I said, we wanted to go that next step further here at Monrovia PD. So, and it got to the area where we were so successful in utilizing our de-escalation simulator and our de-escalation supervisors, our instructors here at Monrovia PD, that in 2017, we were recognized by the state of California and also the International Association of the Chiefs of Police on a global level on the success of our de-escalation programs. We've received numerous awards for that. And with those de-escalation issues, we've had nothing but success in those everyday meetings. There's numerous contacts that a Monrovia police officer will make throughout the day, whether it is a crime investigation, whether it is a traffic enforcement, whether it's just assisting or helping somebody out in the community. Words are everything. So we place an awful lot of emphasis on our training here at Monrovia, at your Monrovia Police Department, when it comes to those areas. So what we saw back in 2014 is extremely important to the issues that are being seen today. You know, we see it on a national level. We see it here in our state. But, you know, I can only speak for Monrovia. I can assure you that is our focus here today, and that's where we're going to continue to move forward. With that said, I'd like to also bring up another topic. Under our community activist policing program, you know, we had another program that was highly successful, continues to be highly successful, and was also award-winning at the area of the state of California, and again on a global basis. And this program that we found a great deal of success in is, again, having that communication. Everything is communication based. So everything we're doing is also been focused at, like I said earlier, you know, at our younger generation. These are the leaders of our community. These are the adults, the future adults of our community. So we constantly reach out to our younger population, and we do it through a particular program. But I'm not going to steal the thunder. I'm going to bring up again our chaplain, Terrence Brown, to go more into it, because he's been extremely instrumental in the utilization of this program. Excuse me.
Thanks again, Chief. Good morning once again. This program, or these programs rather, is near and dear to my heart. The reason why I was inspired to sign up as a police chaplain roughly around 8 years ago. There's 2 programs, 2 acronyms I'm going to present to you. It's entitled MCAN and CARRY. MCAN used to be from the MAGIC program, Monrovia Anti-Gang Intervention Committee. It is now has evolved to MCAN. MCAN stands for Monrovia Communication and Action Network. Monrovia Communication and Action Network. And CARRY acronym stands for Chaplains for At-Risk Youth. And basically what that is, that's a collaboration and a partnership between the Monrovia Unified School District and the police department. So if you have a representative from the Monrovia Unified School District, any school within the district, whether it's a principal, a counselor, or a teacher, if they encounter a teen that needs some additional support, additional encouragement, they see whether it's excessive truancies, they see just a trend going in the wrong direction. So they in turn take the name of that student, submit it to the police department, and then in turn submit it to us as police chaplains. We take the name of that student, we go to the home of that student, and we meet with the parents. We have a discussion, we have dialogue, we assess what the needs are, and based upon that assessment, we connect them with appropriate supporting resource, whether it's the Boys and Girls Club, whether it's the YMCA, whether it's another CBO community-based organization, or whether it's a church, because we are a diverse, we've been blessed with diversity here in our community. So the solution may not be a cookie cutter solution, may be a diverse solution. So this resources may not fit, but we keep, as chaplains, we serve as that family's community liaison, and we walk them through the process. Either if there's those services do not fit the bill, then we ourselves as police chaplains, we provide the one-on-one mentoring, because at the end of the day, we want to succeed those children, those teens, that family to be in a better situation than what we found them in. So once again, that's the MCAN program, and that's the CARRY program, and these programs are active. Why I signed up, I'm involved with those programs. I believe in these programs. And also too, these programs have built with myself very lifelong relationships with these teens and their families. I can be in the mall without my chaplain gear, and a family will come up and say, hey, Chaplain Brown, I get sometimes Christmas cards. Chaplain Brown, how you doing? And I'll be able to have that engagement and involvement with these families. So once again, the Chaplains for At-Risk program and the MCAN program. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Monrovians, for listening. Appreciate you. God bless.
All right. Okay, I'd like to go in and so I'll start off with a question and answer area or period. First question, Chief, you have been a part of the force for a long time here in Monrovia. Comparing the department in previous years to the department you have now, what do you see as the difference? Yes, I have been with the department for a long time. And like anything, I feel that the department has progressed and changed for the better along with our community. You know, a true police department needs to mirror its community in terms of its needs and how it provides that kind of service. In the earlier days of Monrovia, you know, when I was a teenager, when we moved here to the West Coast, I lived in a city right next door to us here. And back then, and also, you know, in the 90s and even up to the early and mid 2000s, you know, there was quite a bit of violent crime going on at the time. But again, through these different programs and our focus on being able to bring down the rate of violent crime and provide a better life for the city of Monrovia, I feel that because of that success, the Monrovia Police Department has, you know, currently now is able to focus on those quality of life issues in that constant and place even more emphasis on how we serve our community, how we reach our community, how well do we know our community, and be able to be there to answer any questions or handle any issues, what they might be. So thank you for that question, by the way. Okay, the next question. Thank you for sharing these examples of de-escalation training. Is there also annual training for implicit bias and appropriate engagement with the LGBTQ, transgender, and gender non-conforming individuals and individuals who are differently abled? Yes, I assure you. So the state of California, every police department, especially Monrovia PD here in the state of California, we are mandated to conduct or take part in training to handle specifically those areas, whether, you know, to handle implicit biases, to how do we anti-racial profiling training, you know, anti-racial bias training, all those areas. So we conduct that training annually, which is mandated by the state of California and also mandated here in the Monrovia Police Department, as well as the training that we've all taken part in too at Monrovia PD, also in the academy and also out. We've attended numerous programs and numerous lectures at the Simon Wiesenthal Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles. If you've never been there, if anybody out there has never been there, you must, and I mean this, you must go and attend that museum and take part in some of their programs that they have there, because it's specifically geared to eliminate bias of any type, you know, here in our community. It's a worthwhile program. Numerous police departments here in Los Angeles County attend that. I can't speak for about the rest of the state. I don't know, but I know, you know, I've been through numerous courses at that program throughout my career, and it's very eye-opening, it's very liberating, and very worthwhile. And our officers do take part in such training regularly. Let's see. Next question. Chief, how does MAP help MPD, and what more can we do to be of assistance? Well, I gotta tell you, the introduction of the Monrovia Area Partnership in the 2000s, I think was a game changer for the city in general. I think it was just a game changer. We've always utilized the community activist policing model that we operated on, but that was just the PD. And again, this is where community comes into play. The introduction of MAP, Monrovia Area Partnership, has enabled, I guess, a greater audience and a greater collaboration with the community at large in all areas of city, you know, of city service, whether it's public works, community development, community services, etc. I think the biggest way that it can be even used of more assistance is like this. Granted, it is a little weird where, you know, we have a MAP-edu meeting going on right now, but it's by Zoom, obviously, for pandemic issues, but especially when we all eventually, when this pandemic lifts, this kind of attendee, you know, attendance that we're getting, we have over 100 people registered, I believe, for this. This is where it's really going to come into play, when we can see each other, when we can talk face to face, have those good conversations, have those hard conversations. But, you know, as long as everybody stays involved and we keep that message going of what society is asking for and what society needs right now, that's where the real success will come in. As long as everybody stays involved and we keep that momentum going. Thank you. All right. Well, and if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to type them in. But I also want to let you know, to just put out there, I cannot, it's hard for me to explain, and I get a little bit choked up about it, is that in the midst of all the, everything that's going on in today's world, I cannot tell you, again, I can't speak for anything outside of, you know, the 7.5 square, you know, patrollable square miles of Monrovia, but this community means everything to us. We see what's going on in the rest of the world. We see what's going on here in our own state. We see what's going on next door. We see what's going on in our county. But the city of Monrovia, the Monrovia community, is what makes it so worthwhile. The mere fact that when we have people making their voices heard, making their First Amendment, you know, rights heard, you know, during this time period, and rightfully so, that our police officers, myself included, can stand out there with you and support you and be taken in as one. When I have people coming to me and saying, thank you for being here, thank you for serving us, while we're ensuring that, you know, people's rights are being protected and showing that support, you don't see that in a lot of other cities. You don't. But we see it here in Monrovia. You know, I've had family members, you know, and friends ask me, hey, how are things going over at your city? And I tell them, and all they can say is, wow. And Monrovia is a special place. So, you know, with that being said, thank you, Monrovia. We will always be here for you. We're here to provide protection for you. We're here to give you service. We're here to show up wherever you need us, whenever you need help. And for that, I thank you very much. A question just came in. Let me read that real quick. Chief, prior to becoming a council member and having gone through the MAP program, I noticed that within the past few years, since you became the chief, it means that there is better relationship with City Hall and the PD. Can I attribute that to you? Oh, I don't know if you want to attribute that solely to me. I mean, there's changes of, times and administrations and everything. And all I know is that, the whole idea of teamwork, the whole idea of collaboration, the whole idea of working towards that one solid goal of having a great city and making sure that all members of this community, are noticed and taken care of as best we can. I think it's that mindset that is attributed to, to that. And good question. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, to that last person who asked that question, go Army. Yay. Sorry. Oh, sorry. One more question. Hi, Chief. I respect that your department made a commitment to suspend the use of the chokehold. Why can't we say, okay, that appears to be a flub somewhere. I never suspended it. I got rid of it. It's completely unauthorized, completely decertified. I know in the information that I put out through social media, and that we put out over our website, it says unauthorized. So I think the suspension word could be a word flub that might have been seen with other departments, but no, it's just gone. I'm the chief. I'll tell you right now, it's gone. Thank you. This is an acknowledgement. I'm not asking a question, but thanking you for making this meeting possible. I'd like to extend our gratitude for all you do in helping to keep our, oh, thank you. Thank you very much. No, it's us that have the honor of serving. We all swore an oath to protect anybody and everybody for this great city, and we'll continue to honor our oath. Thank you. Okay, thank you all. I'm going to hand it over to Alex, and for you out there with that initial comment, you know who I'm talking to. Go Army. Sorry.
Thank you, Chief. So now we can go ahead and welcome our Monrovia City Manager, Dylan Feik, and he is here in attendance, as you can see. So Dylan, I'm going to let you take it away.
All right, sounds good, Alex. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you very much. Hey, I have to apologize, everyone. Some of you saw me wearing my my sunglasses a little bit ago. Just so you know, I'm joining you from some of the grazing pastures of nearby Evanston, Wyoming. We had a family trip planned. We wanted to spend some time with the children, get away from work. And when you go to the mountains of rural Utah, there's very little cell coverage, very little internet connectivity, and I certainly wanted to join the meeting today. So in order to join the meeting, I'm sitting next to a church building in the middle of nowhere with a Wi-Fi password and an outlet at my left side. But I'm sitting outside, and as it's about noon here, the sun is directly above me, shining on my face. So I wasn't trying to make a fashion statement by any means. I was just trying to shield the sun from my eyes. So thanks so much for joining me. Alex, I appreciate you letting me join you here today. Appreciate hearing a lot of great things from our police department. Alan, if you could, while it's time for me to share a little bit about myself and talk a little bit about COVID-19, there was a couple other questions I saw on the feed from a few residents. One about our armored vehicle, another about whether we could use different types of resources to address certain public health concerns rather than police department. If you could, perhaps you and the team can take a look at providing responses to those questions too. So for those of you who have not met me, my name is Dylan Feik. I've been your city manager for about, well, golly, since mid-October. So it's now about 8 months, and it's just flown by so quickly. My wife, Kira, and I have 3 wonderful little children, Gabe, Benson, and Eden. Gabe is a second grader he was a second grader at Monroe Elementary. He'll be a third grader next year. Benson will start his kindergarten coursework. Gabe is as fluent in Spanish, at least as fluent as a second grader would be. But we sure enjoy our kids. They're the most exciting part of our life. And, one thing you'll learn about me very quickly is I try to punch out work as soon as I can, as soon as the day's over, so that I can get home and spend time with my family. You'll find us at the library, at Canyon Park, out in the community. Sometimes I even make lunch dates with my wife and kids. So you'll even see us on Myrtle Avenue spending time in Old Town. A little bit about my family. My father was he was in the Air Force for a number of years and then became a federal air traffic controller. So his job was always to protect public health and safety in the skies. My mother was a homemaker, but we had dozens and dozens of kids come through our home through the foster care program in northern Utah where we lived at the time. We've also been able, fortunately, to adopt 2 children, 2 Hispanic children. So we have a bit of a mixed family with a little bit unique stories and experience. I think anybody who's gone through foster care, whether you were a foster care child or whether you were a family which hosted foster children, your life is certainly blessed by participating in that program. However, you definitely have a lot of stories, a lot of unique experiences to share, and our family has certainly been made better because of our experience with a whole variety of children from other families teaching us and living in our home. As I mentioned, I've been here in Monrovia for about 8 months, and we've had quite a ride. The first few months were all about community events and activities through the holidays, but the last several months, as you know, have been about a whole variety of different issues, unlike anything I've ever seen before, from COVID-19 and a pandemic, a global pandemic, to social unrest. I mean, we're all very familiar with the killing of George Floyd and all the response to his death, but also there have been several other deaths which have made the news recently, and just really changing dialogue for the better. And if you haven't heard some of these other items going on at the city, we're also trying to address city finances related to COVID-19. The nation is in the middle of a recession, and we always have business as usual, and that's one of the things I love about being a city manager is every day is a different day. There's always a new challenge, a new experience. Alex asked if I would talk a little bit about COVID-19, and so I'm not going to go into all of the details, but I just want to share some high-level information that you may or may not be aware of. Beginning in March, on March 13th, the city actually declared a local emergency. It was a few days prior to the statewide order and the countywide health order. But we did that because we saw that around us there were a lot of concerns and issues rising related to the pandemic. We were starting to get nervous about sending our firefighters, our police officers out into the community to these calls that were coming in, and we started seeing, calls going out for someone who had traveled to Wuhan, China at the time. We started, getting a lot of calls about people who were sick. They weren't sure if it was COVID-19 or not, so we had, already begun issuing personal protective equipment. But to say the least, it was just a very wild time for the city of Monrovia. Since that time, you may have been watching a lot of the city manager community updates that I provide. For a while, we were providing them daily. Now it's a little bit more lax, 2 per week, but we also provide a general update on Fridays, trying to keep the community involved with details and information as it comes. One of the challenges with being a city in Los Angeles County is we have statewide orders coming from Governor Newsom's office, which apply across the state. But then we also have countywide orders where the County Department of Public Health may issue its own order, perhaps more restrictive than the state. And we have to communicate that information outward to the public, to our business owners, to our nonprofits, to our schools. And it's pretty challenging. And that's one of our roles and duties, is to make sure that we are providing correct, accurate information as best as we can. Monrovia to date has a little over 200 confirmed cases of Monrovians. I don't remember the nearest death number, but we've had a number of deaths as well. Several of those have been tied to some of our skilled nursing facilities, where persons who are senior, people who have underlying health conditions, even workers in some of these more risk workplace environments, they've been the ones falling ill. COVID-19 is not done. You know, you saw just a couple days ago when the governor issued another statewide order requiring everybody to wear masks when you're out in public. You know, if you were to go down Myrtle Avenue within the last week or so, you know, hit or miss, about 75% of the people you would see weren't wearing masks when they should have been wearing masks. People were patronizing businesses, going into bars, going into restaurants, who weren't wearing masks. And it's even difficult to watch when people aren't practicing social distancing. I myself have seen folks playing at, you know, playgrounds, people, you know, as I said before, patronizing businesses, but we are still in the middle of a pandemic. The numbers of confirmed cases continue to grow. We do have access to more testing, but the numbers keep going up. Interestingly, in my travel here to northern Utah, but also to Evanston, Wyoming, there are some communities that look like they're just kind of starting to get ready, just starting to place, you know, different equipment, personal protective equipment within, you know, the Walmarts or the grocery stores of the area, just starting to outline, you know, social distancing protocol, workplace safety protocols. Whereas, you know, in Monrovia and LA County, we've been doing that since early March. I think related to the city's response, let me just share a few updates pertaining to how the city is operating. Immediately following the proclamation of the local emergency, we began shutting down public facilities, restricting access to the public. That started with Canyon Park, with the library, with the community center, quickly became public facilities, City Hall, police station, fire station, public works, as well as any other facility. Staff has been working in all the facilities since that time. I'm really proud. Monrovia was the only city that I'm aware of that continued providing building inspections, code enforcement throughout the entirety of the pandemic, but we did it in a very modified way. We also deployed remote workstations for most all of our employees who needed to work, but we wanted them to stay home and practice social distancing from home. We had about 26% of our workforce that we began working remotely from home. And most people, with the exception of being unable to access a public counter, they were able to receive the services that they needed, whether it be a plan check, you know, submitting a payment online. We also transitioned a lot of city services online, from utility billing, even police crime reporting. You can now report crimes online. Granted, if you know, certain times it's best to call 911, but there are certain crimes that you can report online and get a phone call directly from one of the members of our police department. So a lot of change and transition happened. Those of you who have been following the Monrovia Public Library, you'll see that they're providing all of their programs and services remotely. We're getting ready to deploy some curbside service, which is going to be great. You want to reserve a book, you can reserve a book and someone will come out and deliver it to you, so you don't actually have to come into the facility. We're also making plans for the street fair. We want to be able to resume the street fair. It's an important community activity that happens every single week, but we need to be able to follow a protocol and make sure that we're practicing social distancing. We're making sure that people, you know, have masks when they're patronizing. I think the name of the game for our future is going to be COVID-19 is still here. It is still very present in our community. And if we're going to be able to live through it, we have to learn to live with it, which is about wearing masks, about washing your hands, about remaining 6 feet apart from others as often as you can. I think we see a lot of people are getting a little complacent, and we need to keep pushing the urgency that exists, that COVID-19 is still here. There's a lot of talk and discussion and anticipation that COVID-19 will rear its ugly head again in a more significant way this fall. But it's, as I said before, it's still here. We're still getting confirmed cases. We're still seeing disproportionate impacts on people who are older, people who have underlying health conditions. Statewide, the governor has even announced information that shows that there may be a little racial disparity. Hispanic men in the 20 to 40 age range are disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, which is new information that we don't have the statewide data to review, but it's something that the governor's office is now pushing out, and you can see that information in any of my weekly updates that go out. As we look to the future, a couple of things we're going to continue to do, as Alan and his police team mentioned earlier. When we do community engagement in all of our departments, we like to meet and build relationships with people. That's really hard to do in a COVID-19 era. So a lot of the forums like this one, we're doing remote meetings online. We do hope that one day in the future we'll be able to resume in-person meetings. As we look to our summer activities and programs, many of you will be getting the Monrovia Today in the coming month. But in that program, we're going to talk a lot about what our programs will look like for this foreseeable future. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our Monrovia Day celebration. We're also going to have a different look of our July 4th celebration. We're not going to be doing fireworks this year, at least for the 4th of July, but we may do a firework event later on in the fall. We still have to determine that. But a lot of the summer programs, the summer activities that you're used to, the city is required to make sure that we can practice safe social distancing and follow some kind of protocol before we can open those programs. We've been able to do this in some of our activities like at Canyon Park, by implementing a new registration system. We're staying open only weekdays. We're closed holidays and weekends. We've had a little bit of feedback from some who wish that we could be open on the weekend. We're very sympathetic. We're very sorry. The challenge is weekends are prime time for so many people, not only from Monrovia, but from out of the region to come, and it overloads the park. But more importantly, it becomes impossible for people to remain 6 feet apart within our park system. And, we had tried that earlier on, and it was impossible. It was something that we couldn't do, and we didn't feel safe telling people, come to the park, we can have a safe program or safe offering when we knew we couldn't. So we've had to keep it very limited for now. The reservation system has been very successful. We're getting a lot of people coming up and joining us, and we're looking at, how can we take lessons there and use them in some of our other facilities, like perhaps the library, community center, as we look to reopening those facilities. For the time being, we're going to continue to have our police and our fire stations restricted to the public. One of the concerns we had really early on through the pandemic was making sure that we could provide critical public health and safety services throughout the duration of the pandemic. If one of our police department shifts, if one of our shifts from fire department were to get contaminated and were to contract the virus, we would have had to remove that shift from operations, isolate those people for a number of weeks, and that put a burden on the rest of the team, the rest of the organization. And so we've been really careful to try and limit the amount of public interaction police and fire departments have had, not only with the public, but also with staff. We've discouraged all of our staff from going back and forth into the police and fire station buildings. This is done very intentionally, just to try and limit unnecessary risk as best as we can. And I would imagine that as we start to look to reopening City Hall, community center, some of these other facilities, at least for a time, we'll want to make sure that our police and fire departments can continue to have, they can continue to operate throughout the pandemic. We are looking at installing some new equipment within our facilities, from some screens at all of our public counters. We've already got deployed hand sanitizing stations. We're fully stocked with all of our restroom, whether it's soaps and toilet papers and all your cleaning and sanitizing solutions. The facilities have had regular medical grade cleanings throughout the duration of the pandemic, and we'll continue to do that as we open up to the public. That's a little bit of an update from my perspective related to COVID-19. I'm going to take a quick look and see if there are any questions. The first question I see is, when will the library be opening up? Right now, we have a plan to open the library for curbside service on Monday, July 6th. We're really excited to get started, to see it, to see how it works. People can reserve books online. We've actually begun calling the staff back into the office to start taking all of your return books and getting everything clean, sanitized, getting them back on the shelves. That's one thing that's really interesting, is when we send a book off to, out of the building, we have to bring that book back in and make sure that it's been set aside, that it's been cleaned, and that the virus doesn't sit on the book. It's a challenge that all libraries are having. So we want to make sure that we can provide a safe service for Monrovians. But right now, the date is Monday, July 6th. All right, next question. Given the city revenues will shrink due to COVID-19 and in light of nationwide calls to shift resources from police budgets toward mental health homelessness, what are your thoughts on how we'll manage the city and MPD budgets in the foreseeable future? That's a really good question. From a COVID-19 impact perspective, we've provided a lot of information online and at public meetings. We estimate this fiscal year, so through June 30th of this year, the COVID impact is about $2 million on our general fund. So we've had to make a lot of changes in a very quick way to try and reduce our expenses to match those falling revenues. In all the years that I've worked in local governments, I've never seen as precipitous of drop, even during the Great Recession, as we did here. In 3.5 months' time, we expected to see a little over $2 million revenue drop. So it was pretty fast, and we had to respond accordingly. And right now, we've made significant enough adjustments that we feel we're going to end the year with about a $500,000 deficit. When I say that, what we also have is we have money held in reserves that we haven't touched, and we also have the Measure K money that has been collected starting April 1st. So those are additional, whether it's a revenue of Measure K, but also our general reserves that we haven't even tapped into or touched yet. So the plan is to use one of those sources to address that deficit by the end of the year, with a plan to restore it in our next fiscal year budget. Related to defunding police, I'm gonna call it defunding police, because I think there's just a lot of great dialogue out there. For anyone who thinks that defunding police is about just cutting the budget out of your police department, you do a little bit more reading. There's some great perspectives out there about, if what we're trying to accomplish is true, meaningful change, should we be putting money into the police department to lead the change? Should we fund other services which have more purposeful, intended results? That's what the defunding argument is about. To me, it's not really defunding. It's more about prioritizing, reprioritizing, or reallocating where we want it to go. I think the question that came up earlier, as we send our police department out to deal with any particular issue, homeless response, code enforcement, dealing with at-risk youth, supporting special events and activities, for decades, the MO has been, that's something that police department can do, and it kind of gets pushed into law enforcement, and that just becomes an expectation of our local police departments, but not just here, all across the board. And so if we're going to really reprioritize, I think we have to have that honest conversation about okay, what services is the police department no longer doing? Where can we take those funds and allocate them to something else much more purposeful? I will say that as we have been, working from home or working behind a locked door in the last several months, the City of Monrovia team have been very active in pursuing a variety of grant dollars of resources for things from addressing homelessness to looking at updating our general plan and addressing affordable housing. And there's been a lot of discussion about, should we have some kind of affordable housing requirement or inclusionary housing requirement? Well, we've received a significant amount of money to update our general plan. So as we begin these discussions, we're using state grant dollars to help pay for the changes needed in our general plan to make sure that we're addressing some of these needs. We've also been really successful. Special thanks to Tina Cherry in Community Services and her team. We are recipients to well over $900,000 this year to upgrade Lucinda Garcia Park. Again, grant dollars from other sources that are going to go towards upgrading a very important public park, which is in need of a facelift. So we're going to have a considerable amount of money for the park. We have this year alone, we're going to be getting a little over about $300,000 that I'm sure of now, tied to addressing homeless response, our housing displacement response plan, which is completely geared towards preventing people from being homeless. We're not only receiving more funds to do that, but we applied for a one-time grant to do something similar tied to impacts of COVID-19. Right now, people may not be evicted or lose their homes because there are so many moratoriums across the state, across the county, and even in City of Monrovia, where we have an eviction moratorium. What happens when those moratoriums go away? What happens if federal unemployment checks, statewide unemployment checks stop, and we start to see community impacts tied to COVID-19? We wanted to be competitive and get some money and have it available so we can address the needs when they arise. All right. Given the feedback and public comments at the council meeting on Tuesday, is there anything specifically that MAP can do to continue to improve our city? The thing I love about MAP is about community engagement. And, we have, just this past week, I've received a couple emails from folks. One was about trees and looking at how we do tree maintenance, tree preservation within our community. I received an email from a gentleman, he saw some tree maintenance going on, but it was during nesting season, and we have, wildlife in the area. And so let's make sure that we're doing things like tree maintenance, because we have to do them, we're obligated to do them. Well, let's make sure we do it thoughtfully in relation to the migrating animals that are here in the area. It's not that we don't do that, but again, it's about a resident getting engaged and having a passion, having an idea. And so as we look to, okay, let's get our staff together, let's meet with this person, hear what they have to say, let's see if we can improve upon what we do. And I think that's where MAP to me is so important. It's about bringing people together who may have a common passion. They may be different passions, but it's connecting you to people like the chief of police, his captains, his sergeants, his lieutenants, and even the police officer on the street. So you know the face, you know the name. When something comes up, you're able to make a connection with someone. That's one of the things I love about cities like Monrovia, where we're a small city that you can know the people who make a community run, from staff at the city, but also at the school board, also at our commercial businesses. We've got a variety of people who are very engaged through a whole variety of sources. The Old Town Advisory Board, we have Historic Preservation Commission. There's so many ways to get involved and passionate. So I think, for one thing, for MAP leaders, for people who are looking to join MAP, we're going to help empower you for future engagement, whatever that looks like. And I tell you right now, from the bottom of my heart, I think we're having a discussion about engagement that is long overdue. We have so many people showing up who are just you know, we're outraged at what we've seen on the news stations. It is time for dialogue. We need to get better. We need to change this. And what are we going to do? And I think we've just seen this flurry of people responding, and that's, to me, that's what I get most excited about, is we're having people who are now wanting to get involved in the community. Please don't look to government that we have all the answers or we're the ones who have to do all the work. That's just not it. We need passionate people who can help lead meaningful change. One of the questions from a name I recognize, can you touch on the importance of street sweeping? Street sweeping, interestingly, we had to temporarily suspend the weekly sweeping during COVID-19 because we also suspended parking enforcement. We just didn't want to create hassle for people and start citing people who, you know, weren't going to work, weren't going to school. And so now that we're starting to see businesses open, we're starting parking enforcement again. We're also starting sweeping again. Street sweeping is important for a number of reasons. One, Monrovia's roadway conditions for a long time were just awful, outright awful. And the city council and the community had made a commitment to, we need to upgrade our streets. Monrovia Renewal was as much about street replacement as anything else. And over the course of a few years, Monrovia went from having an assessment, a grading of our streets at like a 53% up to like an 83%, with the last phase of renewal yet to go. We've gone from among the worst streets in the state to among the best streets in the state. And I think that's an incredible accomplishment. It's important that we keep it up and that we keep preserving it and maintaining it and cleaning it, just to make sure that we don't fall back to where we were just a few short years ago. There's also legal requirements tied to things like stormwater. Those streets are conduits of water flow. And if we're not sweeping them, removing debris and stuff from the roadways, anytime we get rain, that water washes over those streets, it picks up all those chemicals, and it goes right into our flood channels, and then makes its way, you know, down the waterway and eventually to the ocean or underground aquifer, wherever its final destination is. And so it's just so important for cities that we are maintaining our streets, cleaning them, because there's also these other impacts like, you know, just neighborhood preservation, having a clean street, but also things like water and making sure that we've got, I mean, we can't clean the water before it goes down the flood channel, but if we can keep the streets clean, there's fewer contaminants on the roadways as it's on its way. Dylan, can you speak to COVID-19 being tracked? If someone is positive who calls them, does anyone from the health department reach out to others, the infected person who may be in contact with? That's a great question, Rena. The way that it works right now is when you test positive, you're in contact with the Department of Public Health, and they provide guidance to you in what you're to do. What you would be told is you'd be told to contact those people that you've been in contact with within the last, you know, several days, several weeks, depending on how long they think that you had it. It's become really difficult to track the community spread about, you know, where you got it. So what they're trying to do is help inform citizens, inform people who do test positive, go to those people that you made contact with, let them know. And they're asking the individual to call personally. So the city, the health department, we don't publish names or locations of where people have tested positive, but the health department is asking that individual to call those people that you may have come in contact with. In my household, for example, we've been staying 6 feet apart from everyone, not high-fiving, not shaking hands. In the workplace, I stay in my office as best as I can, and I'm essentially commuting from work to home and then back. You know, that's what I try to do to try and limit my exposure. That way, if I were to ever test positive, I'd have a really good idea of who came within my 6-foot bubble within the last several days. That's how it's being done. Next question is, so are you going to use some of the money saved from current upgrades of the water and sewer project to help offset shortfall this fiscal year? Is there still a possibility of giving Monrovia homeowners a reduction in utility bills, or is that now on hold? Thanks. So right now, let me just look at the question one more time. Upgrades. So a lot of the upgrades that we've had to do are really important important. They're capital investments. So we're building new infrastructure. Where that's going to really help us save money down the road is in the times where the water mains break and we have to send crews out to fix a broken main in the middle of the night, on a weekend, pay overtime, an emergency repair, all that. So we do expect there's going to be long-term savings. Saving can be used in a variety of ways. They can be used to offset utility bills, to lower the amount that residents have to pay monthly for their bill. They can be used to make further repairs or upgrades to systems. They could even be used for future projects if we go through and identify capital improvement needs for the future, like replacing more pipe, like replacing some of our water reservoirs. There can be other ways that we prioritize those savings. So it absolutely can. Right now, there's not a plan to use that money to offset any of the reduction in related to COVID-19. We suspended late payment fines for people who couldn't pay their bills. We suspended all the water disconnections and shutoffs. If you were laid off, we're not going to come out and turn your water off. So we're working individually with people on payment plans. We make sure that they do pay the bill, but we're not shutting water off. We've seen delinquencies. We have seen some reductions in our water-based revenue, but not enough to make a significant difference in our budget. They say, be careful what you wish for. Did the Monrovia you thought you were inheriting match your expectations? How is it different, if any? Are there changes in a perfect world you would like to enact? Oh, thanks, Gil. That's a great question. Do you know what? When I first visited Monrovia, I fell in love. And the first thing that really stood out to me was our public library. I mean, talk about a place-making feature of a community. And Old Town. And when you stand there and you look at the library from Myrtle Avenue, you take a quick peek up to your right and you see the preserve. Something that at one time Monrovians had the wherewithal to buy and protect, half of the city's land area for future generations. I mean, what's there not to love? A lot of these other issues that come up from a pandemic, right now dealing with social unrest. I mean, these are tough challenges, and I only hope that I'm up to the task. I think there's going to be more challenges down the road. I think we have a lot of work to do in our community, and I want to be part of making a difference. So, is it different than I expected? Oh, hell yeah. Never would have thought I was helping address a pandemic or social unrest or another recession, or, they spotted West Nile virus, even murder hornets. What happens if the murder hornets show up in LA County? You just never know with this job. But what I love is that the community, it's a special place. We have a lot of people who are just so active and engaged. And I don't doubt one bit that if I had to, ask for help or call upon people or, ask for someone to take lead on a project, hey, can you help the city with this? That we don't have a significant number of people, of groups and organizations willing to step up and lead. I think that's what makes Monrovia special. Let's see. Okay. We have seen discussion about creating an ad hoc committee to discuss racial injustice in the city. I believe there should be a permanent human relations commission. What would it take to create such a commission? That's a great question. So at our council meeting this past Tuesday, Councilmember Spicer, with the unanimous support of the council, had requested that we create an ad hoc committee to really look at city policies, procedures, programs to determine if there is bias, racism, or any kind of unfair practice embedded into the things that we're currently doing. I think it's a great discussion to have. It's getting some people who are probably much more, it's getting people who are wanting to be involved in something that may have a different perspective than, let's say, the city. For us, we're required to follow a lot of state laws, a lot of requirements that, in our minds, yes, we're compliant with state law. but to get some interested parties to come to the table who are perhaps have a different perspective, different education background, perhaps people who just see things differently than we do. I think it's so important that we get that third party look to see, are we doing anything different? I mean, I myself have spent a lot of time looking at our police department manual, our policies and procedures. We do a lot of great things that, quite honestly, many police departments would be good to follow and implement similar programs. But that doesn't mean that we've reached the end goal. It doesn't mean we've crossed the finish line. So having some folks come in and take a look and tell us, do you agree? Do you think there are areas for improvement? I think is something that is certainly embraced by myself, by our staff, by Alan, who you heard from earlier. Relating to a Human Relations Commission, and all commissions are created by the City Council. They can create these commissions as they need. They have to define a purpose. They have to determine what the role is of the commission. And the City Council adopts an ordinance that establishes the commission, the roles, responsibilities. So it's certainly within the purview of the City Council to do. One thing I would say that's, to me, is really exciting is we have commissions already that serve purposes in many ways are something that a Human Relations Commission would be tasked with doing. For example, we have an Arts in Public Places Commission, people passionate about the arts. But one of their programs is our Neighborhood Treasures program. Late last fall, we approved the 5th Neighborhood Treasures program, a statue tied to the Gutierrez family, an early business owner here in Monrovia, Hispanic business owner, who constructed a lot of the sidewalks, a lot of the concrete facilities that you see in Monrovia, as well as the municipal plunge. And so now that we no longer have the plunge, we have our museum. The council thought it was a great location to put a nice statue for the Gutierrez family right there in front of the work that of the building that they helped build. And I think, the Arts and Public Places Committee is doing a great job being mindful of, how do we elevate and share these stories from members of our community who really have made a difference. I think that would probably be something that if the council were to discuss a Human Relations Commission, they'd be doing something very similar. All right, one question, I still don't understand what MAP is or how it actually engages the community. This call has basically been a meet and greet. Sorry. Hold on, everything just updated. Okay. Call has basically been a meet and greet and the city manager email. I appreciate those things, but I don't see how this translates into a program of engagement. Well, I think that's good feedback. One of the things I'd ask you to do to this person and to anyone is if you go online and you look at MAP, reach out and speak after this meeting, speak directly with one of our staff who support the MAP program, Sheila Spicer-Batiste or Alex Akopian. Reach out to them and let's talk a little bit more specific about how you can get involved. I think MAP, part of what it does is it provides these broader informational sessions about what's going on, about how it works. We have a lot of things from a MAP conference. We hold informational meetings like this, but there's neighborhood meetings. It could be an issue related to Old Town. It could be a graffiti issue. It could be a trash pickup. There's a lot of, I'll call them onesie twosie items that come up. And so MAP is really about helping enable people to understand how you can make change when it's needed. So I'd encourage the questioner to reach out to Alex and get a little bit more information. We'll see how we can get you involved, particularly on something that matters to you. Dylan, I'm a senior in Monrovia. Is Monrovia getting the senior activities back in action with addressing safety? Is the community center reaching out to the seniors? Is there virtual activities for seniors? I miss being socially involved with my peers. Thanks for the question, Betty. One of the things that we have done since the very beginning of the pandemic response is we have a couple different groups, mainly our CERT team with our fire department, and also our community services staff who support the community center. They have been reaching out to lists of seniors that we have every week since early March. We've been trying to engage them pretty regularly just to see if there are needs, if there are issues that come up, making sure we're getting them in contact with Foothill Unity Center, Volunteer Center. Do they have needs for meals? We even purchased a variety of house fans and are lending those out for people who, through these elevated temperatures, making sure that people have fans in their home. So we've been trying to do as much engagement as we can. And now as we start to see the county relax their safer at home order, we're anticipating that the services that are going to be opened in the near future, like libraries, community centers, they're going to start asking us to provide protocols to make sure that we can do our best to keep people safe. Make no mistake, for people who have underlying health conditions, respiratory issues, diabetes, heart issues, those people are much more at risk. And so by holding these events and activities, I can't stress enough that there's always going to be risk, even if you come to a reading activity or event, or if we're able to do a senior meal program, by being there, we don't have, we can't ever guarantee that people are going to be safe. And I think that's just a false narrative. If anyone tells you that they assure you you're going to be safe when you do something, you just can't. You just have to try and manage and mitigate the risk the best you can right now. One of the important outcomes of the ad hoc committee may be the creation of a separate human rights relations commission. I just comment that absolutely that could be something. I'm aware that Pasadena has one. I'm not sure of any of the other cities right around us, but that'll be some of the research that staff does. So we'll take a look out and see what others are doing, how they're trying to do the same thing in their communities. And so we'll provide more information if that's the direction that we go. Betty Thomas shared that MAP will assist you with organizing a block party. It's amazing to me how just personally, we recently, during the pandemic, I'm going to share a little personal story. During the pandemic, my wife and I had an interesting opportunity to buy a home. And I thought I was crazy about purchasing my first home in the middle of COVID-19, where we actually had to receive the keys to the home wearing masks while the realtor kind of threw the keys across the yard to us. It was not something I ever would have thought for myself, but it was timing, circumstance, and certainly in my mind, I think it was there's an act of divinity where just everything worked out and the stars aligned. But what I found really interesting was just how welcoming our neighbors were, especially during a pandemic. People still showed up to bring us cookies, but they were wearing masks and they were staying, several feet back and like, hey, if you don't want them, you don't have to have them. We just wanted to welcome you. But it's amazing to me how much connectivity we don't get anymore. And so MAP block parties to me are probably one of the more important things we do. It's just bringing people together, socializing. You're going to start talking with your neighbors about issues. When I first started, my first real issue in Monrovia was coyotes running around Monrovia. We had a problem with coyotes. Some people wanted our police department to go around tasing coyotes to scare them away. True story. That was an email I received that, hey, police department should do this to help manage the coyotes. But it was an issue, and we held a couple forums talking about Fish and Wildlife came out, talked a little bit about here's some things you can do, here's how you can have more information. So you never know what kind of issue is going to come up, and you never know whether your neighbor is dealing with a similar kind of issue. We're so much more connected together now electronically. Even now, we're more electronic than ever. And so having block parties where you still can get out and meet your neighbors, meet the people on your street, talk about issues affecting your neighborhood is something that the city wants to continue sponsoring. All right. Seniors, please check out Monrovia Providers Group website for some programs. We've had had monthly meetings. Now we've gone to Zoom meetings. Anyone who's a senior or who provides services to seniors is welcome to attend. Check out the website. Thanks, Vanessa Dale, for offering that. I myself have been to one Providers Group meeting. We haven't been having a whole lot of public meetings as of late, or meetings at our community center. But I've been to one. I think it's great. It brings a lot of people together who all provide a variety of services to seniors. That is definitely a great way to get involved, connected. So thanks for sharing that. I don't see any other questions and answers. I've been talking for a long time. I just want to say thanks to everybody for letting me share your time today. I appreciate all your interest, appreciate all your passion, excitement, And please don't hesitate to reach out to me anytime if you need anything or just have a question about anything going on in the city. All right, back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Dylan. Have fun. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some updates, and Lauren is going to be giving that to you.
Hello. Hi. So we have a few events coming up, and our first one is going to be next month. It will be our virtual block party. So we will set up a Dropbox for everyone to participate, and we'll be giving out instructions with that coming up. In August, we'll be holding another MAP-edu event. We would like your opinions. That will be provided at the survey after, to get some information on what topics you guys would like covered, how you guys like this event, just a little bit more so we can perfect the virtual MAP-edu. And then in September, we'll be starting our academies again. Our academies are for youth and adult if you haven't attended. There are also some questions on the survey regarding the leadership academies. So be sure to keep an eye out for any promotional advertisement, because we will be starting those pretty soon, and they get filled up pretty quickly. All right, this was a MAP leader announcement to complete your 2020 census. And here are some links. We will post this presentation on the city website, so you can click these links directly if you don't know how to get there. You can respond in multiple ways, online, by phone, by mail. It's important to get counted. That way the city can be represented accurately. It's just important for everyone to do. And so we have our birthday shout outs from everyone's birthday from January 25th to today. So don't feel left out. You'll be mentioned at the next birthday if your birthday happens to fall within the next few months. So here's a list of all of our MAP leaders. So happy birthday to you guys. All right, and so if you registered, you were entered in to our raffle. In for a raffle, so we have 5 winners. You'll be receiving a $5 gift card to a local restaurant. So the winners are Roy Tucker, Jenna Surright, Marina Ramirez, Cindy Lee, and Gail Montgomery. So you guys will be receiving a $5 gift card in your email, probably I would say by Tuesday. So congratulations. And here is the contact information for our police chief, city manager, and MAP staff. This will be posted on the website as well if you want to click those links. And so we need your feedback. We'd like to know how you enjoyed this event, any other questions that you had, any comments. So you'll be sent a survey that we've created, and that will be sent directly to your email.
That Dylan wanted to answer live that came in. So Dylan, you want to answer that question?
I think I was actually trying to figure out how to work the answer piece, but I just want to say thanks to Nancy Matthews. She shared City of Long Beach has a human relations commissions as well, but they also approved something related to reconciliation. So I just wanted to let her know that I certainly checked it out, but I appreciate her feedback. Again, you know, folks, a lot of ways to get involved, to share information. And so, you know, it could be anything, you know, from today of looking at, you know, how we make meaningful statements about Black Lives Matter and making meaningful change, to tomorrow it could be something related to improving the public library. So just want to say always thanks for sharing your feedback and being engaged.
Awesome. Thank you, Dylan. Okay, so as Lauren said, you will be redirected to a survey right after the completion of this meeting. So please fill those out. Everybody's opinion we take into consideration. So we thank you in advance for doing that. And then last but not least, I'm gonna go ahead and get our MAP staff to just come real quick and say thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys, and we can't wait for our next virtual MAP-edu. So let me stop the share real quick. Okay, so here you go. Come on, Sheila, Lauren, Carrie. We got Carrie here too. Yes. So we're gonna socially distance say thank you and goodbye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Bye. Okay, that got an empty chairs, but it's okay. It's fine. Bye, everybody. Have a great one. Bye, Dylan.